A question was posed to me: how do we live in a free society with our deepest convictions, especially when those convictions are sometimes conflicting across our plural society? I think this is an important question. It's a question that has come up in many ways in reaction to various news that's hit the global scene. Carter Pittman is a legal theorist who made a really important point and said that the eternal problem, as he called it, in politics or political science has been between equality versus liberty. That is, how do we actually maintain a free, liberal or liberated society, and yet maintain equality for everyone who's in that society? And that's usually the tension. I think this is right. This is sort of that eternal problem. This is a perpetual problem that we're having to deal with. And my hunch, my thought on this, and I've actually written part of my dissertation on this, is to actually investigate three things, as I like to put it. First, I think what we need are what I would call intrafaith dialogue. I think it's important for Christians to talk to Christians in civil context to discuss just how important it is to think through what it means to be a Christian in the context of other faiths. So we need to have that intra-faith dialogue among Christians about other faiths. So before we go into interfaith conversation, I think we need to have intra-faith. And that, on a very specific example, would be, say, Protestants, evangelicals, have a particular view of the human person, the imago Dei in the human person. Catholics tend to have a very different view. One's very somewhat pessimistic, given total depravity and what have you. The other is quite optimistic. The Catholic view tends to be quite optimistic about human nature. I think that intra-faith conversation about the imago Dei, the image of God in us, needs to take place. That's the first thing. The second thing I would say is interfaith friendships. During my time in my doctoral studies at Oxford, one of the benefits, the huge benefits I had was in doing my work on Islamic and Catholic theology, I actually had a chance to make some really good friends with Muslims in a way that I've never had before. The friendships gained there. My wife and I met this family and we went really deep in friendship with them. And as a result of all that, I think that really did make a mark or shape the way I thought about interfaith issues. And so interfaith friendships, I think, should really be a framework for our philosophy, theology, and politics about how to live in that plural society. A third way of, I think, trying to tackle this eternal problem between liberty and equality is by way of what I call investigating the human good. There's, ever since the time of Aristotle, this notion that humans have a certain good that they're made for. Just as, you know, a tree, there's a good way to be a tree, there's a good to a refrigerator, that is to refrigerate things. Humans too have a certain good, a way of flourishing. And by investigating the human good in our tradition as Christians, in the tradition of Muslims and even atheists, what have you, to talk deeply, to think critically and charitably about the human good from our respective vocabularies and perspectives, I think that would do a whole lot of good, actually, in forming a society that balances liberty, yes, we need that, but with equality for everyone to be able to pursue a life of liberty. To sum things up, I think to tackle that issue about making sure that people are living lives that have equal civic rights, but also are free and liberated, I think we need to do those three things. One is to have intrafaith dialogue. Secondly, to have interfaith friendships to inform our dialogue. And thirdly, to actually investigate the human good.